Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Adam Burke from BangTheBook.com coming to you with our Wednesday weekend look-ahead video. Not really a whole lot to look ahead to this weekend. We got NBA and college basketball, which is what I'll talk about here on this video. NHL at the All-Star break. No college football unless you count the Senior Bowl. No NFL unless you count the Pro Bowl. Please don't bet on the Pro Bowl. Take that money, take your significant other out to dinner, buy your kid a toy, something like that. Probably a much better use of your money than throwing something on the Pro Bowl here. But in any event, got some NBA and some college basketball spots for you to consider for this weekend here. Obviously, next week, our Wednesday weekend look ahead, we'll have more stuff on the Super Bowl, props, all that type of thing. But for now, we got college basketball and the NBA to work with, so that's what I'll talk about on today's video. Over at BangTheBook.com, we're covering all of the markets here. Of course, with the NHL on break, Parker Michaels gets a well-deserved break from the daily NHL piece, but Kyle Hunter still doing the daily college basketball. We'll keep working towards our Super Bowl coverage. Also daily NBA and college hoops over there. Golf preview for this weekend's Farmers Insurance Open. So if you're looking for some things to play in that, you can get an idea from my preview over at BangTheBook.com. Don't forget about Bang the Book Radio as well. Good show today with Brian Leonard and Wes Reynolds. You can catch the segments right here on our YouTube page, or you can find us on iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio. You name it, you can find Bang the Book Radio there. All right, let's chat some spots here for the NBA and college basketball. Just some things that I have circled. These are not guaranteed plays. They're still price dependent, but they are some starting points for you here with a busy NBA weekend and, of course, our usual very busy college basketball weekend. Fully loaded card on Saturday, good amount of games on Sunday as well. So maybe you want to take this week as a little bit of a weekend off with no football for the first time in a very long time. Can't blame you for that. But if you still want some action, maybe consider these spots. Take a look at them and see what you think when these odds do actually come out. And in fact, we'll start Friday night here. We got the Los Angeles Clippers on the road against the Chicago Bulls. Teams that are favored in a third straight road game. Not favored for 3 straight road games, but in their third consecutive road game, they are a favorite. They are 21-33 against the spread this season. We do have a spot like that with Portland on Thursday night where they will be a road favorite. But in this situation here for the Clippers, you've got to be very, very careful. 4th road game in 6 days for them. Very busy stretch for the Clippers, to say the least. So they're in a little bit of a tough spot here against the Chicago Bulls. We've seen a lot of teams in good spots fail miserably. The Cleveland Cavaliers being one of them here this season. But with the Bulls here in a much better spot on Friday night than the Clippers, if this price is too big, and that certainly is possible, maybe you want to look at the Chicago Bulls, plus the points. I'd be very wary of the upset, obviously. But again, teams that are playing a third straight road game and have some expectations in that game have struggled to cover the number here so far this season, 21-33 against the spread. Saturday, big game, potential NBA Finals preview here between the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics. No bad situational spots either way for these two teams. This is the midst of a long road trip for the Warriors, but no back-to-backs or anything like that. For Boston, 2 days off prior to this game. Home dogs on 2 or more days rest, 20-24 straight up. 23-20-1 against the number. Average line of +5 in that situation. Boston will be getting points at home unless something happens from an injury standpoint for the Warriors between now and then. But obviously a game that everybody will have their eyes on Saturday night. Keep in mind, too, that this will be one of the biggest bet NBA games of the last several weeks, probably dating back to Christmas Day or something like that. So will be a lot of money out there in the marketplace. It'll be interesting to see which way the public wants to go in this game, and also if there is any sharp involvement. I would look for some potential letdown spots after this game for these two teams, but for Saturday, all hands on deck, everybody fully focused in that Warriors versus Celtics game. How about we go to Sunday afternoon? What a miserable spot this is for both teams. The Kings take on the Clippers. Sunday afternoon, 12:30 Pacific time tip-off for this game. The Kings are wrapping up a 6-game road trip. The Clippers coming back home after a road trip, which is usually a tough spot for a team. Absolutely brutal situational spot here. 4 road games in 6 days for the Clippers heading into this one. So I don't know what the NBA schedule makers were thinking in this situation. Watch for some guys to potentially be rested in this spot. Obviously, a team like the Kings, while they're sort of in the hunt here this season, they got young legs. They may not need to rest some guys. Maybe the Clippers and Doc Rivers do opt to rest some guys. So pay attention to that overnight line. Could be some value if you grab the Kings early, and then if the Clippers do decide to sit some guys out, you can either middle or hold on to that line value that you've got in that particular game. But what a brutal spot for both teams. Shame on the NBA for scheduling that one the way that they did. One more game for Sunday in the NBA. The Utah Jazz take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is a conclusion of a home-and-home. And we've seen a pretty interesting trend here in these home-and-home series this season. The team that lost the first game, 10-3 straight up, 9-4 against the spread in the second game. And if the team that lost is now at home, 9-1 straight up, 7-3 against the spread. This is a trend I did go against on Tuesday night with the Minnesota Timberwolves against the Phoenix Suns. Wish I would have put that one in the video here. I thought that angle with the back-to-back, or with the home-and-homes, was getting a little bit too much run. That line was coming down. Also, too, 4th game in 6 days, 5th game in 8 days for Phoenix. So, bad situational spot for them, and they really weren't competitive in that game. We don't have a great situational spot either way for this game here on Sunday, but, of course, we do have Minnesota coming back off of an altitude game in Salt Lake City. But this angle could potentially apply here. And keep in mind, when there's a trend or an angle or an outlier, something like that, that gets a lot of run, like this home-and-home series, and I have seen some prominent outlets tweeting about it, talking about it, all that type of thing, it either gets baked into the market or it gets overblown by bettors that are out there in the market. So keep that in mind. While this is a great trend, again, the team that lost the first game of a home-and-home, 10-3 straight up, 9-4 against the spread. If they're now at home, 9-1 straight up, 7-3 against the spread. Good trend, small sample size. Always be careful of those small sample sizes. We'll transition over to the college basketball side of things, touch on a few spots here. This is a situation we talked about on Monday's edition of Bang the Book Radio during our segment with Kyle Hunter. So if you missed that, go back and listen to it. Get some more information and some insight on this particular spot. Marshall and Louisiana Tech. These two teams play each other on Thursday night. Then they both play on Saturday. Marshall will be on the road in Hattiesburg against Southern Miss for a 4 p.m. Central Time kickoff. 5th game in 10 days for Marshall. 3rd straight road game for the Thundering Herd. 5 games in 10 days is a lot when it comes to college basketball. It's not a whole lot in the NBA, but keep in mind, those teams play 82 games. College kids play 30 to 35 games unless you make a really deep run in the NCAA tournament. So that is a lot for Marshall, a team that loves to push the pace, loves to push the tempo. Could be some tired legs there on Saturday in that game. For Louisiana Tech, they are at home on Saturday for their 4 p.m. Central Time tip-off, but also their 5th game in 10 days. So you wonder how much is in the tank for the Bulldogs here. That game on Thursday night, a late game. I believe it's 7 or 7:30 Central Time. So a little bit of a quicker turnaround here for Saturday's game. Just a couple of angles that you want to consider from Conference USA. How about Belmont and Austin Peay? We'll talk a little bit more Ohio Valley Conference basketball on this video here. Very quick turnaround for Belmont. Belmont on Thursday night will play Murray State, the top dog in the OVC, and they will do it with a national TV audience on ESPNU. I believe that's a 9 o'clock Eastern time tip-off, so an 8 o'clock local time tip-off. Then Belmont will play Austin Peay Saturday afternoon, 2:30 Central time tip-off. Very, very quick turnaround for Belmont. If that's a highly competitive game against Murray State, and the expectation should be for it to be a highly competitive game, maybe you've got a chance here to go against Belmont in a very difficult situational spot on Saturday. Finally, the SEC Big 12 Challenge here this weekend. So we've got some non-conference play right in the middle of the conference schedule here. Non-conference games, SEC Big 12. We've got Iowa State against Ole Miss, Florida against TCU, Alabama versus Baylor, Texas versus Georgia, South Carolina versus Oklahoma State, Kansas State versus Texas A&M, Vanderbilt against Oklahoma, Kansas and Kentucky, the big game there on Saturday, and then Arkansas versus Texas Tech. Now, home dogs do very well in these non-conference games in the middle of conference play. So if you get some of those here in this SEC Big 12 Challenge, something that you may want to pay very close attention to. Obviously, these games are very important from a Selection Sunday standpoint, from a resume building standpoint, and could potentially be important from a futures standpoint as well. So take stock of some of those college basketball futures prices heading into the weekend, and then see after all the dust settles here what types of prices you're seeing on Monday. Maybe some values to hop on a team, maybe some values to wait on a team and see how they respond to some losses, something like that. So you always want to be looking for those opportunities in the college basketball futures market. That'll do it for our Wednesday weekend look ahead. Lots of great stuff over at BangTheBook.com. Please make sure that you check it out and catch up on what you missed with Bang the Book Radio. I'm Adam Burke from BangTheBook.com.